Welcome to the Collector's Cast, everybody. Once again, I'm here. I'm Clint. He's here. He's Mike. We're both here. We're going to talk about collecting art today. What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, awesome. I love the thought of collecting art. I'm not a super knowledgeable art guy. I did at one point in my life have a couple of Picasso lithos, but
that's a step or two up on me.
But you know the thing about collecting and art. So we are the Collector's Cast.
Yes.
And to me, whenever I say, collect, when someone says, "Oh, I collect," art hits my brain first.
Yeah.
Before cars or motorcycles or all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
it is one of the oldest things to have been collected, I'm sure. Yeah. And I own a little bit myself. I don't have the Picassos that you've had, but I do have some original in the shop over here off camera, some Red Skelton paintings that old Red painted himself. Yeah. He was fond of painting clowns, and he did quite a few cool versions, and I have some of those in my shop.
You got a nice Brender.
I do have a Carl. Is it Carl's Brender or Carl Brenders?
Yeah. Brenders.
I think it's Brenders. Anyway,
okay.
He's a wildlife artist, like Robert Bateman. But for some reason, on this one particular time, instead of painting cougars and owls, he painted a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I got that from you. Carl Brenders.
Brenders. Yeah, it's very, very nice.
Yeah, so
and hey, I have to mention this.
Yes.
You yourself, pal, are a pretty darn good artist.
Yeah, I fiddle around with pen and ink once in a while. Thank you for saying that.
And so
But I don't have it exposed very well out in the world, and I think this next guest is going to be able to help with that. So
yeah. And listen, to our listeners out there, if you dabble in art or you might know one of these people that you look at their artwork and you go, holy crap, you should be selling that stuff. And they're not, for whatever reason, stay tuned. We got something that might help
Sounds
you
like
out.
You know more than I do. All right, we'll be right back with our special guest. See you in a minute. Welcome back to the Collector's Cast, everybody. We're back with, as always, your two hosts, Clint and Mike, are with you. And we've also got somebody on the phone today, don't we, Mike? We've got a very special guest. I don't think you'll have any trouble remembering his first name. Please welcome Mr. Michael Facchinello to the show. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Welcome, Mike.
Thanks so much. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're having fun here in the Cave of Wonders, and we're just looking around at all the amazing collectibles. And I've got some art in here, which I understand you know a few things about. But rather than me tell the people, let's hear a little bit about your company and what it is you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself there, sir.
Yeah, so I run an online art business. It's a communal marketplace or social commerce marketplace for art. Mm-hmm. We enable artists to post their work and sell it directly to collectors, where we have a third party involved or a third user type, if you'll let me use some tech lingo, that validates them, that being the critics or critics who basically write criticism or commentary around work as it's posted. So collectors get a little bit more sort of insight into what they might be getting with the artwork.
Okay. I did a little bit of quick reading just before we got on the line with you, just to see what your setup was about. And I was on your site there, and which is called what again? Mira. Sorry.
It's Altamira, and the website's altamira.art.
Yes, and I was on there, and what caught me first of all is because I am somewhat of a untrained artist, if you will. Is that seems like a space for artists to get their work on and get known. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, because that's what excited me right away. It's like, exposure. Okay. So how would artists go about getting their stuff online with you?
Yeah, so any artist can sign up, and then there's a quick verification process so that we can make sure that they are in fact a working and selling artist. One sort of caveat, we only allow artists to post their work on here. In that way, there aren't any galleries or anything like that. We just see it as a better model where artists are making more of the money instead of sort of the third party gallery.
I'm sorry, just to explain there, you're saying that if they post their art on your site, they're not to have it anywhere else. You get exclusivity? No, I got that wrong.
No, we don't. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I must have done a bad job of explaining that. We don't.
I could just do a bad job of understanding, which is quite possible too. But go, yeah. Educate me, sir.
What I was saying is we only allow artists to post on our site. And so on a lot of other platforms out there, in most cases, it's galleries that are posting their artist's inventory of work.
Gotcha. So only the individual themselves can post. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that.
Of course. Yeah. And in that way, I'm sure you maybe know this, but galleries take 50% of all sales from their artists. And in we just sort of see that as unnecessary. And basically every other industry where the individual that's driving most of the value makes most of the money. And most of the artists that we have on Altamira are attracting a lot of their own collectors anyway, through Instagram, social media, what have you. And we're sort of a social platform in our own right, just focused exclusively on art.
Oh, okay. No, that better explains it. Now, so you're basically removing the brick and mortar aspect again, saving people money by making it an online thing. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. To be successful as a gallery, you have to have really, really good real estate, and that's expensive, and that cost gets passed on to both the artist and to the collector.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be able to pay the power and the lights and whatnot at that big fancy place in prime real estate. Because let's face it, the hoity-toity art people aren't going to go and look at paintings out in, Hope, BC or anything. It's got to be downtown in a big city somewhere.
I have a very, very basic question to ask you about.
Sure, Mike.
Michael. So if someone is a good artist, but they haven't sold anything yet, let's say, they're saying, hey, you should sell this stuff, but of course it's hard for them to get their stuff in gallery. Is your platform the platform for them to go to, or do they need some recognition already?
Nope. We are a place for them. We kind of look out there and say, we don't think that the few individuals in New York City should be deciding who can be an artist and what good art is. So long as you can demonstrate that you're a working artist and meet some very basic thresholds of quality, then we'll let you onto Altamira, where our community in effect evaluates if the work is good or not. And the better work gets highlighted more prevalently and gets better real estate on the platform.
Yeah.
Which is a benefit to the collector.
Yeah. It's nice to know that there's still that beauty in the eye of the beholder out there.
Yeah, I equate it very much to like the music industry used to have such a stranglehold on who got to get played on the radio and who didn't, and it really came down to them who got famous, and they sure charged for it. The artists got milked like anything back then. So this is a really cool thing you're doing here, to be honest. And Mike was being nice. Say an artit comes along who's never sold anything before. Damn it, Michael, I have sold a couple of drawings.
No, I wasn't thinking about you, pal, honestly. But I do know a couple of artists that actually have done a couple of, one lady has done a couple of pieces for me, and I always say to her, wow, you should be selling this stuff because it's amazing.
Oh, you're talking about our good buddy. If anybody saw the Space Toys episode, the fella that came on in the Mandalorian costume with all the Star Wars action figures, his wife, Penny Batson, is very accomplished amateur artist, but who does amazing work.
Unbelievable abstract art, and it's just like every time I see it, wows me every time.
Well, she would do well on there because the public would get to see her, and that's cool. So I saw another thing I noticed when I was hunting around your site there, Michael, was that the paintings are for sale. So then, is that the artist selling them, or are you guys selling them for them? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. And sorry, that's not a clear answer. The clear answer is the artists are selling the work themselves.
Okay.
We provide the infrastructure for them to do so. And then we take a small commission, in providing that infrastructure. We handle all the payment processing, we handle the shipping, and we also do quite a bit of marketing for the artists to hopefully sell their work more quickly. And given that it's sort of social media just for art, where all the conversation can take place, I think it makes sense that the purchase can too. Just like when you're going to like the market in New Orleans, if you've ever been there, and you're talking to the artist, looking at the art, and then you can purchase it all in one sort of fell swoop.
Well, I personally haven't been to New Orleans, although it's one of the places I'd like to go. No, I think I'm kind of getting the picture here. And you guys basically handled the administration side of it. It's kind of, you provide the place for everybody to come and shop, and you're taking a small piece. And I imagine that's spelled out somewhere on the website, what it costs an artist to sell a painting and whatnot.
Yeah, it's we take 10% of the total sale price. And that's all spelled out on the site and available for anybody to kind of go and peek under the hood and get a better understanding on.
Yeah, you know, I just this little quick conversation we're having here, Michael. I lived in New York City for a while, and I dated an art buyer, and I went to a few galleries, and I remember just what you said. There's a certain amount of people that want to determine what's good and what is not good. And I, back then, this was in the 80s, late 80s, I had said to her one time, I said, this must be intimidating for someone who's never sold a painting before. How did they get it here? And she just kind of gave me a look, and she said, well, they don't.
Yeah.
You know, and now I can see this, the setup that you have could be very unintimidating for someone to get their artwork out there and seen and sold.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of our stated mission, is to make the art world more accessible. And that to both the artist and to the collector. There's a lot of folks who, and actually there's a lot of research around this too. Market research, that is, where there's a lot of people who want to buy art, who have money to buy art, that don't buy art because they go into a gallery and they're super intimidated by, one, just the whole idea of it, looking dumb, asking dumb questions, and not having the confidence to,
the process.
And the confidence in their own taste too.
Yeah. And us here, you know, with this show called the Collector's Cast, and I had said a few times to Clint, I said, well, you know, really, we've got to do a little bit more about art, because in my mind, when it comes to, if you say, well, I'm a collector, automatically the first thing I think of is an art collector, and then maybe second a car collector. But you know, it's there are people love art. Even myself, I'm not an art expert by any means, but I know what I like, and I enjoy looking at art, and I enjoy going to galleries, but now I'm going to enjoy looking online as well.
Sure. And that leads me back to the fact that, yes, this is a collector's show based on collecting all things. And that was going to be my next question to you, Michael. You're obviously in the art business. Are you yourself a collector of art or anything else?
Yeah. I am an art collector. I have 14 works hanging in my home of varying prominence and sort of background. But the first one my grandparents gave me for my 10th birthday. They were big art collectors, and they saw that I was obsessed with all the art that they had. So that's what my 10th birthday present was. I still have that work. It's hanging above my couch.
Would that be an artist anybody'd know of, or?
No, it's. I think that they probably spent a 10-year-old's birthday budget on it. But they got it in Mexico, and it's actually still one of my favorite pieces. I've tried to find and track down the artist and see if there's any information around them or around him, her, I'm not sure. but I haven't been able to do it.
Well, isn't that just driving home the point, kind of what Mike here said earlier, Michael, is that, it's really beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And if whether you know a lot about art or you don't, your eye knows what it likes. And it sounds to me like you cherish that painting as much as any Picasso or anything, because it means so much to you. And, even if it was maybe they got the frame at Sears and that was the painting that came with it. No, I'm sure that wasn't the case.
They had a little house in San Carlos, Mexico that they would spend the winters in, and I'm sure they bought it there. Wow. But there's a whole lot of books written about collecting art, and the best ones tell you not to buy art because of anything but your own personal enjoyment for it, because everything else sort of can come and go. It's a little bit like the crypto, where you have to really be into the cryptography, because the value could diminish overnight. Yeah. And art,
and in many cases,
you're buying a meme stock a lot of times when you're buying art, where the value could go up astronomically. It might not, but so long as you love what you're looking at, you get to live with it every day and get the enjoyment there.
It's funny, Michael. You're kind of singing my credo there. The way I collect I don't know if you've had a chance to check out the show yourself, but in my shop of wonders here, the Cave of Wonders, I've got a lot of things on the walls everywhere. A lot of it's art. Some of it, quite a bit of it, is vintage signs. But we spoke with a lady, Heather Baker, Baker's Dozen Antiques, who herself is an art major and used to be an art teacher. And she said that a lot of the old porcelain signs are now becoming the modern art, because people are paying thousands upon thousands of dollars to hang these old signs in their house. And back to why you're singing my credo sort of thing is the fact that I buy my signs and everything in here the same exact way, Michael, is I buy it if I love it and I'm not afraid to buy it at that price. That means I'll be happy to keep it forever at that price. And if nobody ever wants it or it doesn't go up in value, so be it. I bought it because I love it. I'm not going to ever get stuck with anything that way. So,
well, it's also a good sort of litmus test, in that if you really, really like something, then somebody else probably will like it too. We all think we're so unique, and we are unique, but so much of our taste is driven off of marketing and whatever else, which, like, a lot of the value in art is, and I can give you guys a quick breakdown on how art is sort of valued, other than supply, demand, and it's supply, demand, and marketing, but that breaks down into provenance, which is who is owned or who has bought an artist, the condition, is it real or not, and then exposure and quality. And exposure is the biggest one that's getting driven today through what gallery you're in, if you're in museums, but then social media is the really big one that we're playing off of a lot, and providing a lot of tools for artists to sort of drive their own value by getting more critiques and getting more upvotes and getting sort of building more buzz around it.
I've been signaled by our producer that we are running a little behind on time here, but I'm going to just say that cheers to you for bringing all that art out onto a bigger stage where it could be appreciated by such a wider audience. And it's not just the big galleries determining value and saying who gets to be in the big show and who doesn't. So good on you. That's excellent.
Awesome, Michael. And just on that note, be assured that there's 3 artists that I know for sure I'm going to be steering your way, because they're
amazing.
They're great artists, and they're just, for lack of better terms, I'd say a little shy about what to do. So your platform, I think, is going to be perfect for them.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your show, and hopefully we'll chat with you soon.
We really appreciate you taking the time to get on with us here, and thank you so much for being patient and getting on the show.
And thanks for doing what you're doing, Michael.
Yeah, and you've promoted your site that much more, and we're starting to get kind of, don't want to brag or anything, but I think there's dozens of people listening to the show, so we're going to give you some exposures there. Anyway.
Well, I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, one more time, the name of the site, Michael, is?
It's altamira.art, ALTAMIRA.ART.
Excellent. And this fella you've all been listening to educating us is Mr. Michael Facchinello. We really appreciate having you on, Michael. And please get back to us with an update on how your site's doing in the future.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much, guys.
Take
all
care,
right,
Mike.
guys. We'll be right back after the break. Thanks, Michael. Welcome back, everybody, to the Collector's Cast. Well, that's quite an amazing story about that art website there. You know, as an artist myself, as a guy who likes to dabble around and do stuff, I think I'm going to visit that a little bit more. So yeah.
And hey, there's a way for a lot of people who are good artists and would maybe have always dreamt about or would like to be able to sell their stuff. There's a
like I said to Michael in the interview, you know, this very, very much equates in my mind to the music industry and how it used to be that you had to know somebody, you had to be in the door to get recorded, to get your stuff on the radio. It used to be a real old boys club. And I think as you were saying about the galleries in New York and that, you know, that's where the old boys club hangs out.
Yeah.
And this guy's making it now a way different method to get known, and that's just awesome.
People will see it, they like it, they buy it.
Yes. Well, anyway, I think we covered art pretty good there, but I've got to go to a trivia question now because our trivia, let's face it, has become very popular with the listeners. And I've got a trivia question here. Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
Okay, well, this is funny. The question is easy, but I'm reading the answer that our producer Aiden sent me. He did the research on this, and I'll have to get my head around the answer. Okay, the question is, how much did Picasso's first painting sell for?
Was it not some ridiculous amount, like equivalent to like $5?
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's a trick question, and I was not aware of this either, that it didn't sell because he was 8 years old when he did it. And it was called Picador, and it had to do with bullfighting because his father had taken him to see bullfighting.
Huh, I did not know that.
So it did not sell.
I should have known that because I had a few Picassos.
Yeah, well, but you didn't have that one. You didn't have the one you did when he was 8 years old, did you? Yeah, no. So there. Anyway, I didn't know that either, so we both just learned something. And now I believe before we bow out, you're going to read us one of our lovely listener
questions. Right.
I love doing these.
I like the list. Jillian from Campbell River.
Jillian, Campbell River. Hey, that's my sister lives
Your
up
sister
there.
lives there, and that is one absolutely beautiful place, Campbell River, British Columbia.
It's a very nice little fishing community.
Super, super community.
Yeah.
How many times, Jillian asks, how many times have you sold something and immediately regretted it?
Oh,
Jillian.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, since we're doing an art show, okay, I'm going to say a lot. Probably too many times to count. But since we're doing an art show, I will talk about art that I sold once that I regretted. But it's funny because it was what made me technically, you're not a professional until you get paid to do something, correct? You know, you play a music gig and they give you $10, you're a professional musician, I suppose. But no, the first time I ever sold art, I had one of my sketchbooks full of, I still do to this day, like drawing things like knives and swords and dragons and wizards and barbarians and that kind of cool imagery. And I had a little sketchbook full of stuff like that. And a guy that I met just partying somewhere when I was a teenager, we were all hanging out. He goes, wow, these are great. Can I buy these off you? I said, what do you mean buy them? Because my buddy has a tattoo studio, and I want to buy these pictures for him to have tattoo ideas. I went, well, what would you buy them for? And at the time, you know, it was like, oh, hang on. He dug around. He's like, I got $35. $35? You could buy 3 cases of beer and a pack of smokes and like, yes, I'll sell that. But, you know, even though that was a lot of money at the time, because you know, we used to put $10 in our car and drive all weekend. $35 seemed like a lot of money at the time, but I was immediately a little bit regretful that those were gone, that I didn't have them to look at anymore and remember. So I guess that poses a thing to all artists. Before you sell your first piece of work, think about it. Do you really want to see it go?
Yeah, and I've never had any artwork of my own to sell, but I do regret selling my Picassos.
Yeah. Because they're only going to go up in value.
Yeah, and
you did well on them, didn't you?
I did really well on them.
You bought a boat or something?
I bought a boat.
Yeah, well, selling paintings to buy a boat is a legitimate reason. I think everybody will agree.
That's how I justified it. I got these 2 Picassos, or I could have that boat. Mm-hmm. It was a done deal. It was the boat.
There you go. So boats trump art in Michael Bloski's world.
Every time.
Anyway, Aiden, our producer, has given us a funny look. Before we go, he has something to say.
Do you want to know what a case of beer goes for these days?
Yeah, I don't drink anymore, so what does a case of beer go for?
If you want a 24-pack of Coors Light in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, that'll come out to $41.29 before tax.
Canadian.
Oh.
Well, we used to say a case was 12. So
in
that's
that case,
actually
it's
pretty
a lot
cheap.
less.
That's actually pretty cheap. 41, like 20.
12 is $25.49.
6 Coronas. 6 Coronas are $20 for 6 Coronas.
For 6, yeah. The less you get, the more it costs.
$14.49 before tax.
I'd researched
but dude,
that
we
for
used to buy beer, the no-name beer with just said beer and it had the heart on the bottle and the stubbies. We used to buy those for $8 a case.
Oh, I bet you it tasted good.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you didn't forget what your head felt like the next day. That wasn't part of the equation. It was the $8 you could buy beer for was the thing. Anyway, we've somehow drifted from art and talking about beer, and I don't know. That's just what happens on this show. We go down rabbit holes. We go in a lot of different directions when we start talking about collecting. And we hope you join us the next time we do it, because we do it every week, and we have a lot of fun doing it, don't we?
Oh, we sure do.
And once again, I've been Clint. He's been Mike. This has been the Collector's Cast. Thank you all, and
take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.